The most important day on the Australian calendar, and you could very well say the best time to win a rugby league match. Obviously, the second one is nowhere near as important as the first, but it's round 8, the season's flying by, and we're already at the first major stopping point of the year. So let's tip round 8, and hopefully we can do the ANZACs proud. The Warriors hosting the Titans, and if you're going off form from last week, you'd probably say the Titans are a very good chance at winning this game, and obviously they've got to win one at some point, but it's not the best time to be playing the Warriors. They're coming off probably their worst performance in the last 2 years, and their record won't show it, and you could very well argue it after last week, but they have been one of the form teams of the competition thus far. At some point, the Titans have to win, but I don't see it coming this weekend. It's the first ANZAC game in New Zealand, and if the Wars don't win, then honestly, we can just kick them out of the competition. So yeah, I am taking the Wars, and I'm going to take them by 1-12. The big one of the best footy games of the year, the Dragons, they're taking on the Roosters, and the Dragons are actually in some bloody good form. 3 of the last 4, and 2 of those wins are coming against Manly and the New Zealand Warriors, which is the grand final preview. Now, the Chooks have had a pretty hard draw to start the season, I think it's fair to say, but again, just a very disappointing start to the season, and I know they're favourites in this game, but something is giving me big Shane Flanagan ambush vibes. But I do think the Dragons are due for a loss, in saying that tipping this game never ever goes well. So for the reason that I am a little bitch, I am going to tip the Sydney Roosters. I don't have the guts to tip the Dragons, even though I do think deep down they're a very good chance, if not should be favourites to win this game. But I'm going to tip the Chookies because I'm not made of the right stuff. The Storm taking on the Bunnies. I mean, we've said it for almost a year at this point, but surely coming off a bye is when the Bunnies can show some heart, show some form. If they don't, it won't shock me though. And spoiler alert, I'm not tipping South. I think JD is gone for all money. The only reason I think they kept him on through the buys because they didn't want their interim coach to start 0-2, taking on the Storm this weekend, obviously, and then the Penrith Panthers next week. Now, the Melbourne Storm, they haven't been pretty, but they've been winning the close ones. They only have lost the one game thus far this year, and they haven't even been close to their best. And yeah, the Rabbitohs, well, they're about as far from their best as JD is signing another year of rent in South Sydney. So I'm going to tip the Melbourne Storm, and I think they can be competitive for the first 60-odd minutes, but I do think this could finally be Melbourne's first 13-plus win of the season. Manly and Para, here we go again. Manly escaped with 2 points at Surfers Paradise last week. The Parramatta Eels, they looked like a bag of shit. Now, the Eels, they'll be up for this one because Brad Arthur sprayed them in the press conference, and they should have confidence because they pulled off the miracle win last time against Manly. But this one's at 4 Pines. There's no way Manly lose. If they do, then it's probably because of another robbery. Now, Manly's middle forwards are getting tested. They do get Josh Allier back. If they get Nathan Brown back, I could see Manly going on winning 13 plus. Parramatta Eels will want to play this one through the middle and bash Manly with their limited forward pack. So another big test for Big Paseka, who's been flying so far this season, and if Manly can just match Parramatta and don't allow them to bash them through the middle, then we've just got too much strike in the outside backs, and you can lock in a Manly 13 plus. The Tigers host the Broncos, and the poor Tigers, it feels like their form has already fallen off a cliff. Of the Brisbane Broncos, that was easily their best game so far this year, and now they get their captain and halfback back. So I am not tipping the Tigers. I'd love to see them get the win. I'd love to see them get the upset. Maybe Benji can pull some magic out of his butthole, but I'm taking the Broncos, and I'm taking them 13 plus. The Cowboys, they host the Penrith Panthers less than a week after being put on fraud watch. I think the Cowboys are in for a rough one. Maybe Penrith get Nathan Cleary back. Even if they don't, I think Penrith would be up for this one. Anything less than a 13 plus would be a bit of a shock to me because, yeah, I think the Cowboys, they're just the same team that we saw last year. They did start 3-0, but the defense, even in those 3 games, was appalling, and I tell you what, it looks like a bag of poo. So obviously, I'm taking Penrith 13 plus. Dolphins versus the Knights. The Dolphins have been very surprising so far this year, and I am all for it. The Newcastle Knights, well, they've got no Kalen Ponga for most of the rest of this year, so that pretty much puts a line through them. I was skeptical before the start of the year. They haven't shown anything this year, and now you've lost your most important player. And don't worry, Knights fans, I've known exactly how you feel for most of the last decade, but I'm going to take the Dolphins. I don't see them getting 13 plus. I think Adam O'Brien will be filthy after that performance last weekend. So, no, you know, the Newcastle Knights still do have the caliber of a side to win this, and this is sort of the game it feels like the Dolphins love to drop. But But this Dolphins team has just been cooking, and the Newcastle Knights are as flaccid as your dad when he got divorced by his Thailand ladyboy. And finally, for some reason, the Raiders and Sharks play again for the second time in a matter of a month. And the Raiders, well, they've got no Foggy, and I think they got exposed by the Broncos last week, so I'm not as high on them as I was a week ago. The Cronulla Sharks are cooking. Yes, they had that hiccup against the Tigers, but if you take that out, they are such a better team than they were last year or even in 2022. It is in Canberra. The Raiders do love to beat the Sharks, but in saying that, a month ago, they did choke one of the great leads all time. So I'm going to take the Sharks 1-12. So there are my tips for ANZAC round. I'm taking the Warriors 1-12, the Roosters 1-12, the Storm 13+, Manly 13+, Broncos 13+, Panthers 13+, the Dolphins 1-12, and the Sharks 13+. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what your tips are for ANZAC round in the comment section down below. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you at the Ari for some rugby league football and a cheeky game of 2 Up.